Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first episode of NWF Forward. And I'm just going to call it Forward. I know it says Fast Forward, but this is our first show. Now, like I said, Dixie Dave, he's always on Rewind with me. He may or may not be with me on these Forward shows. So no Dixie Dave. You got Crossen, though. You always have me on this one. And this is our first episode of Forward. And the idea of this show, guys, is to showcase the talent of the future. When we do the rewind, we're looking back at us, but when we do forward, we're looking ahead, and we're looking at the new young kids / teens that are entering the world of professional wrestling. So that's what this show is all about. And I see you got some comments here. Let me just quick bring them in before I bring in our guest. ICA World, I'm here to witness this. All right, and we're we're all here to witness this one. You guys are going to be in for a treat too. This kid's pretty good. Our guest today, the Canary Kid, and I'm going to talk about him in just a second. And I also see Terry Kosnapple. Good afternoon, everybody. Terry Kosnapple, NWF alumni, just got into the Hall of Fame this year. Terry, great to see you, man. And it was so good seeing you when I was in Anoka last month. First time he and I seen each other in about 30 some years. So. And Terry is one of these guys, by the way, that would do this today if there was a ring available. Just so you know, he's that kind of guy. Not that I don't think I could get in the ring anymore, but I think he would. All right, guys. So remember, when we get our guest in, Ricky Henry, aka the Canary Kid, make sure if you have any questions, I'm going to be monitoring all that. We'll bring in your questions live. And before I bring in our guest, I have a little montage of his intro. This is kind of his intro music, plus footage of his intro. I want you to pay attention to the fan reaction and the fans. When we talk about people that are over in this business, let's take a look at this video, and then you'll come back to me, and then I'm going to bring our guest in. So let's take a watch. It's not too long.
Everyone, say it with me. D-I-R-D, bird.
But I tell you something, you see fans react like that. That is the definition of being over. And this, he's very young. He's only 16 years old, and he's already to this level. He's got the fans behind him like that. That's incredible stuff, man. That's just great to see. And he certainly is over. So I'm really excited to have Ricky on. Ricky, you're gonna have to change your camera view again, and then I'm gonna bring in our guest here, Ricky Henry. But yeah, you got to get your camera set right because it's on. I think it's on the other camera. There you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So here he is, the one and only from Northern Ireland. He is Ricky Henry, aka the Canary Kid, the NIPW Junior Heavyweight Champion, reigning champion. That is.
Yep,
Welcome
I
into
want to say thank
Forward.
you, Crossen. Thank
Oh
you very
yeah,
much.
it's
Honored to be
great to
here.
have you here. Great to have you in here. It's I this whole purpose of this show, Ricky, is I want to showcase guys like you. It really makes me proud to see young kids getting involved. And you were only 14 when you started, am I right?
Yeah. Yep, 14. Just
You know,
turned. Yeah,
that's incredible. That's how old I was when I started the NWF, so 14. Now,
there you
I
go.
got a question. Before we get going into showing some footage, when did you first get interested in professional wrestling?
So I actually remember the story completely. So when I first got into P4, so I was 8 years old. That's how our school system works in primaries. And so I was around 7 or 8, and I got sat beside this kid just because of seating arrangements and stuff, and he was the biggest wrestling fan, but I had no idea about wrestling. But he would sit there and he'd talk to me about, John Cena, Randy Orton, Mark Henry, Cesaro, all those kind of guys. And I would just kind of nod and pretend I knew what he was talking about. But eventually I was like, right, I like this guy, but I'm going to get caught out on this if I eventually don't look at what this is and see if I like it. So I went home that day, went on YouTube, which I'm very lucky to have. And, you know, I saw this video and it was Randy Orton and John Cena on the build up to like this Hell in a Cell match they were having, and John Cena got Orton on top of the cage and just boom, attitude adjustment right away. I was like, that's cool. So that just from then on I was hooked, 100%.
So you were about 7, 8 years old then,
Yeah,
give or
roughly.
take.
Yeah.
Yep. And then so you went 7, 8, 9, then you went all the way up to 14 when you finally decided to figure out a way to get into this.
Yeah, I have messages on my phone because when I was around 12, that was when I said I wanted to try wrestling. But
Hmm.
I messaged this place trying to get in. Um, didn't no response. They just read the messages. But I recently, well, not recently, a couple of years ago, I found out that place had closed at that time. Um, Controversial about the clothes and stuff. So, I was just like, I'll just wait. And then I went to the shows of NXG, now NIPW, Northern Irish Pro Wrestling. And, right away I was like, yeah, I want to try this because I saw, wrestling training available. And I asked the guy, and he was all for it. And, rest was history.
So that's pretty awesome. And then now they weren't I believe they had a rule. Hang on, I'm just going to take care of this so this thing doesn't keep making noise. There we go. Um, from what I understand though, you had to be 15 in order to start training. Now you were 14. How did you get around that?
It was actually 16. You had to be
Yeah,
start.
16. Yeah.
Yeah. So the honest reason I got around that was because my coach, he still says this to this day, he just wanted my money, to be honest. He,
Nathan, Coach Nathan, what?
yeah, he was
Yeah.
still, the place was only a year and a half old probably, and he would take any training he could. So, yeah, he says to this day, I sent him this message talking about how much I loved old school British wrestling when I didn't know a single old school British wrestler, just me lying to try and get in. And yeah, Nathan said to me about a year ago, the only reason he let me join was because he could have done with the extra money. So, bang.
Well, I bet she's glad he did because, what just that little video we watched there to be over like that to represent the company, that's a big deal. So, you get the fans behind you like that. Yeah, I got to ask this question because I know when we did our first event, I was just overwhelmed that I had little kids coming up to me wanting my autograph. And because I never expected that. Did you ever get now with the fans behind you like there? Have you ever had any of the kids want your autograph after matches?
It it happens a lot at the bigger shows, but when it happens every time, I just get like goosebumps on my arm. It's just like,
Right.
because as a wrestling fan, when I was younger, I remember going to WWE shows and sticking my hand out for that high five and always wanting to try and get a photo. So, to have kids coming up to me and I've had grown men come up to me and all, like adults come up to me for photos and all that stuff's just honestly, it's like
Yeah.
overwhelming, but it's so great just to, kind of make that kid's day in a way of just, being there for them,
Yeah.
taking the autograph, getting the photo. And
It's one of those things that you have to experience, guys. I mean, to know what that feels like, especially at a young
oh,
age.
it's
You're
amazing.
young yourself, and to have kids come up and even people older than you, like you said,
Yeah.
That's great. You know, I asked Arnie, Subforce Arnie in the UK, the same thing, but he hasn't had that yet. But he's still very young. But I said,
Mm,
Arnie, you just give it time. You'll get there. I mean, that'll happen.
mm. Yeah, it eventually
um,
does come along. Yeah.
yeah, once he starts getting his character developed, you know, they're so young, they haven't done promos yet, so they don't really know
Oh,
Subforce.
there
You
you
know how
go.
it is. Like, promos
Yeah, it
half your
happens.
character, half your gimmick.
It's the whole thing, realistically. I feel like one thing about wrestling is you could go in there and be the best wrestler in the whole world, but if you don't have the right character or charisma or personality, it's
Yeah.
hard for people to get attached to you, because wrestling, at the end of the day, it's a TV show. It's superheroes that go
Yep.
out there, and obviously the wrestling's great, but you also have to really take into consideration how
Oh yeah.
entertaining can I be in that ring.
Yep. You know, your character is two parts. It's in the
You
ring,
know,
and it's also your personality that you have as a wrestler. And once you find it, and then you got it, you've got it. And I know that and I see that. I don't even have to. I watch your matches, and I know that you've got your character down. You know, it doesn't take a rocket science. You know, when you're in this business, you can see that right away. So we got lots of comments coming in. You know, let me just get caught up on some of these. I see Gizmo. Um, Good evening, Crusher. Looking forward to your new show. Gizmo's one of our regulars. Great to see you, Giz. And hopefully you got some good questions for Ricky here as we get going. And we got Nicholas Watler here with us. Hello, I've seen you before, Nicholas. Glad you're back. All right, here. So Gizmo got another comment from him. He says these all came in while we were talking, so I'm just kind of getting
oh,
caught
okay,
up. Canary
okay.
Kid, thank you for joining us today. I have seen many of your videos and you are very entertaining and you show great endurance matches that you do. So basically is talking about your endurance during the matches. He's
Thank you very
noticed.
much, Gizmo. Thank you.
And Damian Thorne, another one of our regulars. Damian, great to see you here. He says, how did you get the name Canary Kid?
Um, so it was around the time, probably around the start of 2022, I started really thinking, all right, if I want to get on shows, we need a character. And, it was just like constantly getting a character, and it was, metaphorically scrunching up the paper, throwing it away. I just which couldn't think of something. And then we kind of, because everything we were coming up with, it was very gimmicky. We had like, I think we had like a luchador gimmick with a money sign on it being like a heel. But, I saw fans like Keaton, who you had on the show, and I saw his reactions. I was like, no, I want to be cheered. I don't want to be a heel.
Yeah.
So um, I was talking with my coach, and he said about Rey Mysterio, because obviously at that time I was one of the shortest guys in the place, and Rey Mysterio was quite small. And he said Rey Mysterio's first ever gimmick was the hummingbird, a bird gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, so how about we call you the Canary Kid? And I was like, sure, because anything to get on the show. And he didn't really give me any guidance with it. He just said that'll be your name, and pretty much do what you want with it. And then we came up with that move, the bird, that kind of developed the whole gimmick, was kind of like the foundation. And then from there on, I kind of just knew what it was doing from there.
Well, the gimmick is so similar to what I seen when I seen the Canary Kid is I seen Sean Waltman. I seen the Lightning Kid.
Yeah,
I don't just the color of the tights is what really got me. And then, but no, if you seen Sean back in the day, like I did, um, in person, for real, like when he first started, he was very similar to your style. Your styles are very, he and I were similar too in a way, but I can see a lot of that in you though, that with what you're doing, only, 10 times that, because the way wrestling's evolved now from back then is, quite a bit. I'm
yeah,
talking
it's
about the complexity of the matches and the moves and everything, you know. But so when I said on that show with Wrestling Revolution Keaton, I mentioned it, because
yeah.
that's who I thought, that's who I seen when I seen you, that you reminded me of him.
That's one of the biggest compliments you can get, to be compared to someone like Waltman. He was, honestly, I've always been so interested in him, because I always just knew. Obviously, I first heard of him from X Pac,
Mm-hmm.
and I was always just associating him as that guy from DX. But then it took a second to look at his stuff, and I was like, this guy's so ahead of his time.
Yeah.
Like the talent, agility, everything he had, and how successful he got with, you know, being compared to the likes of the wrestlers at that time. You had the Paul Orndorffs, the Hulk Hogan's, the John Studds. I know he
Hmm.
broke into it with the size he was in. It's just inspirational, to be honest.
Right. Everybody under 200 pounds has him to thank, because
Yeah,
if he didn't get over in this country like he did with Razor Ramon, if that didn't happen, we would still have to be over 225 pounds to be viable in this business. People say lucha libres.
100%.
Look, that might have been right for Mexico, but even they weren't over in this country. It was Sean Waltman that really got the little guy over.
But even if you look at Lucha Libre, those guys are a lot bigger than they look.
Oh,
Those guys
right.
are massive. They might be like in height, probably about 5'8", 5'9", a lot of them, but out width, they are built guys. Like
All right.
they're no
I'm just
small
saying that
guys.
they've been
Yeah,
known to have smaller guys, right? Like
yeah,
Rey
yeah,
Mysterio and
100%.
others, not and others
Hmm.
besides him. And and
Yeah,
and yeah, it's true. In Mexico, they were over there, but in this country, it was Sean Waltman that really opened the door for the small guys. And
no, definitely.
so that's just the reality of it. Let's see. Um, Trying to see if we have any more questions here before we get into our watch along screen here and watch some footage. Here's one from Nicholas Watler. He wants to know, um, does the Canary Kid have an Instagram?
I do indeed. I post there as often as I can. It's Canary Kid underscore PW. So Canary Kid underscore PW.
Canary
A,
Kid
a
underscore
follow,
PW.
a follow is very appreciated.
All right, great. I'll follow you too. We have our NWF Instagram, so I'll make sure I'll follow you after this.
Awesome.
Um, Here's one from Sports Talk 117. He wants to know, uh, what was your worst injury while wrestling for your company so far?
Now, I want to answer that, but I'm pretty sure. So we're going to look at me and John's match that you showed for a bit on
Hmm.
Keaton's. I'll bring it up because it happened in that match, and I'll show you where it happened. But I will get back to that.
Okay, so we'll revisit that question.
Yep.
Um, and then Sky Sports Video News wants to know, do you have a high school wrestling in your? Do you guys have high school wrestling in your school?
So is that like amateur wrestling?
Yeah, I think Keaton always refers to it as Olympic wrestling, but yeah, it's
Yeah,
amateur
yeah,
wrestling.
I hear that. Yeah, so we do have it. It's actually not far away from me, and I was interested in it for a while, but I feel like, I'm already training 4 days a week, plus school, plus life. I don't have time
So
to get
speaking of
into it.
training, Keaton, so how many days what days do you train?
So I train, I learn, well, every day is a learning day, but the days I go as a trainee is the Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays tonight. And on Saturdays, I kind of take like a side coaching role in the children's classes.
Right, because you've been helping train
Yeah,
with them. Correct,
yep,
yeah. Yep, and I was going to talk to you about that too, and we'll get back to that. Well, I'll tell you what, guys,
no
we're
problem.
gonna we're gonna start our watch along. So we're gonna show some footage here of Keaton, or I'm sorry, of Ricky. Get Keaton on my mind now. We
There
keep
you
bringing
go.
him up. Uh, but yeah, like he said, this footage is, we'll talk about. I hope that's in here, anyways. I've got, like, I think there's two. I think I got two matches in here, plus some of this. What's going to start out is going to be some initial
Yeah,
training that kind of a, oh, it's not really a live match. It would be like a dark match, one that wasn't
yeah,
meant for people.
was just, yep, not meant for people at all.
Yep. And it's when Ricky first started, right?
Yep.
Very early stuff.
Yeah, I was 2 weeks in.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks in. So let's take a look at.
Yeah,
We're gonna show a little bit of this, and then we're gonna get into one of his matches. So let's
yeah.
start
I
this.
hate watching this match, but we'll watch it.
Now remember, you might have to do that little trick so you can see it play, but
Yeah, yeah, I
as
know,
we
yeah.
get to this, but now we have the audio turned down kind of a little bit so we can hear. You can hear us anyway. There you're there, Ricky. So
Yep,
that's
there we
Ricky right
go.
there on the left, everybody. You can tell he's young.
Yep,
Um,
yeah, very small.
and very interesting. The guy on the right there
You can,
underneath the NWF logo, that's John McCann.
yeah,
Um,
he was
it's-
very different
yeah,
looking.
he was very
Always the
stocky.
same person.
And
Yeah, he was a lot like smaller and round.
yeah, a little more, almost like a Slick Steenerson for the people who remember our show build to him. And And then when you see him later on in these matches, you'll see how much John has changed, and
Oh
Ricky
yeah,
for that matter.
the height. I'm barely over the top rope, and I like to
That looks
think I've
like,
got
is
a bit
that Chris?
taller.
Is that Chris Mercer back there on the left?
Chris Mercer on the apron on the left. Yes,
Yeah.
that is. And then another great wrestler, D.D. Crooks, beside Chris
Oh,
Mercer.
that's him.
Yeah, that's D.D. Crooks. He used to have long
Yeah.
hair. That was his feminine days.
Yeah, 'cause I know of him. I just didn't realize that was him.
Yeah,
So yep. So this is like 2 weeks in, you said, and but even
two
then,
weeks in.
even at 2 weeks in, you already got a lot of fundamentals down.
That's just the way Nathan trained. Because I think me and the guy I'm with there is a guy called Dean. He sadly no longer wrestles, but he was a talent. But I think the thing with Nathan is, again, he had a very small roster at this time, so he was just doing the most he could to get us on shows. And this is the match I was talking about where the injury happens. So
Okay.
if we get to watch pretty much
Oh,
all of it because it's around the end.
I'll get the comment out of
Um,
the way. But yeah,
yeah.
now this is for the title, it looks like, and John McCann's the champion.
No,
John
it was
McCann, by the
actually
way, plays a really good. He I know he's been a babyface, but he's got a
he's a
really good
great heel.
style to his heel
Yeah,
when he
and this is
wants.
actually the first time this title was ever fought for. This was to decide the first ever champion. So
Okay. Also, the
in
title
front
was
of
not
a
his.
lot of
It
people.
was titles up for
No,
grabs here. Okay.
completely inaugural.
And can you guys hear it enough, or do you want me to turn the volume up a little bit? It seems kind of low to me. I can make it a little louder if you guys want to hear the other audio that is.
And you can really see the change in John's size there. Like, he is very different looking.
Yeah, like that's the same. That's what when I was pointing out in that other video, and you can see how he's growing. He's like growing. He's like growing out of it is what he's doing.
Yeah, and this ring is a lot bigger than the last one, and we're actually both a lot taller than compared to the other ring, I like to think. Gizmo just put in there a little louder, by the way, just to give you a heads up.
Okay, I put it up a little bit, so
Yeah,
hope you
okay.
guys can hear it a bit. You know, John's such a good heel here. I watch him because he doesn't have a choice. You know, he might have been a face too, but you have the crowd here, so he's
Yeah, he was a heel on the build up to this. This was probably about our 7th match or something together, and yeah, it was great.
But the handshake start, I like that.
Because
You guys start with the handshake here, very much like Ring of Honor.
the idea behind that was, John's whole gimmick at the time was he's professional, he likes the handshake, and everyone he would eventually shake the hand with, he would, do something dirty to them, he'd hit them a strike or something, but because of our on-screen kind of friendship, he didn't, so it was kind of a big deal. That's why the crowd really got into it from that. And he just froze.
And we were talking too, Ricky, on our test connection the other day about having ring chemistry, and you and John definitely have ring chemistry.
Oh yeah, definitely that. And it's funny because it took us a while to get that, because obviously I faced John in my debut match, and in the training matches and the build up to that, we just kept messing up. And I have a photo somewhere, I don't know if I still have it, but he actually busted my lip and it came up like that before my second match from a senton. Like, we just did not work, but we just worked each other enough to the point where it worked.
Right. Yeah, you got to work through it. But I imagine now, though, you guys can have a match and you don't even have to talk about it. You just can work the match in the ring, right?
We could just kind of speak in like word phrases. So we could just be like, yep, Russ Albert, Johnny Cena, Johnny Kid, international, all those terms, and just throw them out, and we could plan a match, 20-minute match in seconds. This match was actually very easy to go over, which I was happy. And this is some British Bulldog stuff I saw.
Yeah.
Of that and build up to the match.
I mean, the crispness, the way you flow together, it's very, very, very clean.
Yeah, John was the guy who I was probably in the ring with the most ever, not just on shows, but in training. So, we're just kind of beginning to know how each other work and how to work around it. Like, obviously, in the ring, none of this stuff that we've done so far was planned. We don't need to. We can just go out there and wrestle. And I think that's a really good thing about being a work with John, that I can be confident enough to just be like, rep, see you out there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean that's just, and if I'm just thinking too, you're 16, right?
Yeah, 16.
You're only going to get better. You're still developing,
so.
I'm sure. And
oh yeah, so much more to learn.
Yeah, I mean,
So I'm very excited about.
you never stop learning in this business. I've found that out.
Yeah, that's something that I think a lot of people need to realize at times. There's
Yeah,
still so much more to learn. No one ever fully understands wrestling because there's always that extra opinion and always that extra thing that you could really do with no one.
and it's always evolving. So and you
Yeah,
have to keep changing with it. So
you have
the
to move with the
moves and
times, and that's what a
maneuvers.
lot of wrestlers start doing
Hey,
around
look at this
the likes
series
of
right here.
Edge.
What? Like nice drop kick.
I think we've done that sequence 20 times or something already. Like,
Monkey flip. Oh, but he got out of it.
that's another British Bulldog. Boom. Yeah, and you see, it's just me making sure the crowd can see me, and John knows what to do. He's doing some of those pins. He was taught by the Knight family, actually, Page's family. He was taught that months before us, so he's letting a lot of that out in this match.
Who would you say is your favorite opponent then to face in the ring so far? Is it John?
Yeah, it would probably be John. I think I can trust John the most. DD Crooks is an amazing opponent, but I know when I go into a match with him, I'm going to have a crazy match. So, I think when I work John, it's a lot more comfortable and a lot more in my comfort zone. Um, and then, I've only worked a match with Nathan, my coach, once, but I had so much fun in that match, so I'd love to run that back again. But I'm happy working most people, especially John, though. Yeah, he's definitely number one.
Yeah.
And,
It,
that stuff he can really let into me.
it's really fun though when you start to develop like you've learned what chemistry is, and when
It's,
you've got it with an opponent,
yeah.
it's just like they call it a night off in the business. When you have a match with somebody that you have chemistry with, it's a night off because it's easy
Yeah,
because you have it down.
you've nothing to worry about. Like, if I find out I'm working John, it's okay, fine. And I know we're going to get the best match on the card every time because we know how to work each other.
Yeah.
And, that's the thing about us. I think we make each other develop a lot here. And it's matches like this that really elevate us and really help us progress because we're working each other again and, just gets us
Here's a
comfortable.
comment here, Ricky, from Darren, which is Keaton's dad. He's
Yeah.
on here. It says Ricky is such a great role model to the juniors. NIPW are really lucky to have the Canary Kid as one of their own. The fans love him. He will go far.
Oh, thank you, Darren. Darren's honestly such a great guy to have at the shows. He's always supporting me, and he's done a
Yeah.
great job raising Keaton. Keaton's a great kid as
Oh,
well. So
I've been spending a lot of time talking to myself, getting ready for Keaton's show, and
yeah,
he's very invested in the show that Keaton and I are doing as well. He's very supportive of it
yeah,
behind the
he's
scenes. Yeah.
such a great dad, such a great guy as well, and very good at snooker. I think really good at that.
Now this is how the start of your finishing move, right?
Uh,
Bird.
I've never actually finished him with it. It's more just a move to just
Oh,
get
it's
the
just
crowd on
kind
their
of a high
feet.
spot move.
Yeah, it's one of my big moves. I call it a big move. It's just a monkey flip, but again, I never hit it, as you'll see here.
Yeah, I was gonna say every time I see this bird thing, I never see the thing happen. I was gonna
Because
comment on that actually.
yeah, so the idea behind the bird is, realistically, if they're sitting in a corner like this and I'm going bird, 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 and then doing a whole dance, they realistically shouldn't take the move. They should be ready to reverse it. Sometimes I hit it, but I have to make sure I hit them with a massive move before it. But I think obviously the crowd probably want to see me hit it, but they're more happy just doing the whole chant along.
And then we have
Which
another
is,
comment here, 412 Films, another one of ours that have been here before. Great to see you again, 412, and it just says, "What's up, everyone?"
what's up, 412?
And here's a question from Sky Sports Video News. It says, how far do you plan on going and wrestling in the future?
Well, how far I plan on going is as far as I can go. I like to see the sky's the limit, but it's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard. There's a lot of things need to improve on, and I can even just see looking at this match. There's 100 things I can name that I had to change, but honestly, I'm just planning to go as far as I possibly can. Try and make a job out of this. But again, I'll see where it all takes me.
I mean,
That's really it.
are you
I just have fun.
interested? I guess my question to follow up there: are you interested in trying to go further than NIPW, like to maybe get into the American wrestling or Japan or anything like that?
I would love to get all. I love to get all around those places. But I don't think there'll ever be a time where I'm able to, and I'm not working an NIPW show. It's just how much they've given me. I'm always going to try my best to give it back as much as I can. And if Nathan ever decides to, stop doing it, we already know we've already got it planned out. John's going to take control, and because I'm intending on moving out of Northern Ireland as soon as possible. But in the time I'm here, I'm going to give it all. But yeah, I would love to try Japan, America, Canada. It looks like I'm possibly wrestling in Canada soon enough. So it's all that stuff. And
Yeah, you
I'm
mentioned
excited
that you
about.
have something coming up in Canada that you were going to be
Yeah,
venturing over to Canada for a match. So that should be pretty interesting.
yeah, nothing's set in stone just yet, but it looks likely, and it's a pretty prestigious promotion, probably one of the top ones in Canada. So it's
Now,
very exciting.
is this over in which part of Canada? Is this Ontario or over in
This is Ottawa. Ottawa.
Ottawa?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where a lot of my family are from, and I was a couple months off being born there because my family lived there for a year. I was very close to being born Canadian, so I
And
have Canadian
you
wrestling.
still have family over there?
I still have a lot of family over there. Yeah, I'm really close with them. Talk to them all the time.
Well, that would make it easy then for you if you got over there. You'd have a place to stay and everything.
That's it. Yeah, that's the whole idea. So it's exciting. Canada's produced a lot of great talents: Edge, Bret Hart, Owen Hart, Christian. So, it'd be amazing to get over there. Have a bit of Canadian wrestling in me, of course. So, cannot wait to possibly wrestle there.
That would be very exciting, and keep us posted if that happens.
Oh yeah, 100%. Really cannot wait.
I mean, I'm just watching, and these fans are into it. They're very into the match.
And the thing, yeah, you notice that, and the thing that's really cool about this is about nearly 2 hours into a show. You'd expect them to be tired, but they just came to life for the big match, and you hear the reactions for that stuff, simply just a kick out. It's honestly so good to hear that in the ring, and yourself, one of the best feelings in the ring is when you expect a reaction, and you actually get the reaction you wanted. It's just the best thing.
Yep. Nothing like it. That's what I've always said. What I miss the most after being away from it for so long, besides the camaraderie with the guys, I miss that the most. But the next thing I miss is all the cheers. I was a baby face.
Yeah.
I had my heel moments, but for the most part, I was a face.
Yeah. The adrenaline you feel, when your music hits and the crowd come up on their feet. That's why I really like my entrance video being so interactive, because that means I get to hear the crowd chanting my bird. And you were talking about the finish. Here it is. Here's my finisher.
Yeah, there's the finish. It's kind of like almost like a stunner off the top rope.
Yeah, it's the Canary Cutter.
The Canary Cutter.
Yep.
And you know what I noticed in a lot of your matches? Keaton gets that crowd going a lot. I hear his voice start off a lot of these chants.
Keaton's one of the main reasons I'm so over. I like to think, because that kid just cheers and cheers and cheers. My most recent match, the guy against him and his brother showed up. This is about 55 people in the place. There was about 17 of them were their family. Like, I was so outnumbered, and they were all booing me. But you had Keaton and my sister and my nephew and Darren in the front row going crazy, and somehow it equaled the playing field a bit. And I was very grateful for that. And I think here is where you see me get injured.
Okay, so let's watch this.
Real soon. Yep, here it is. For the person that asked.
They're going to try to do a superplex.
Yep, and here it is. That it doesn't look that big, but for the rest of this match, my whole shoulder, I could barely move my arm.
Just came down on it wrong, huh?
It was just top heavy on the one shoulder, and it hurt so much. I had to get help to get changed after the show because I couldn't take clothes off after it. I don't think I really clicked in how much pain I was in until after this clothesline.
So was it nothing broke or anything?
No, I panicked in the situation afterwards. I was signing things, and my family were like, "We need to get you out of here," and I was like, "I'm just gonna keep signing because I don't want to leave people." But I was saying to them, I honestly thought it was dislocated, but it wasn't. Thank God, it was probably just pulled a muscle or something. But it was really painful.
You had landed in the corner towards the corner, which is not gonna have as much bounce. And
no.
Yeah, and it just probably came down on it wrong, you know,
That's exactly
like
it.
you said.
Yeah.
That happens. I remember one time I did a power slam to Steve Engstrom, Mr. X, and I
Hmm.
caught my finger underneath him and broke my finger
Oh,
during the
that's
match. Had to keep going.
that's that's brutal. It's so
Yeah.
easy to get injured in wrestling. It's crazy. The
I mean, it was
simplest
my
thing of just
fault.
not moving your hand. Yeah.
You know, it's I don't blame any. You know, it's something like that happens. It's your fault, but yeah, like you break your finger during a match, you can't stop. There's no timeouts. You know, you just got to
Yeah,
keep going.
you have to keep going. You can't stop. Just have to keep going. And here
Oh,
we
here's an
come to the
interesting
finish.
question from Gizmo. I got to bring this one in. So, do you have a sign to let the staff know you're injured if anything ever does happen? Is there any
Uh,
way to communicate that?
Say ow. No. Honestly, I haven't. I've been lucky enough where that is where I mentioned to the ref I was hurt, because the ref checked on me afterwards. The ref checked on us before, but I just thought it was a bit. But it was when I sat down I realized I couldn't really move my arm that well, and the ref comes to me, checks on me, and he's like, "You good?" And I was like, "Can't move my arm, but I think it's fine." And
Yeah.
he's like, "Right, okay." But honestly, we don't have a sign. There probably is signs elsewhere. No doubt it'd be used like the X, but
Yeah.
for for us, we just ref checks on us and we'll just say, yeah, I'm hurt. But I've
So
never
yeah,
had a really bad injury.
so if you were hurt, you would just let the ref know.
Yeah, just
Kind
kind
of
of hope the
saying.
referee turns to you and says something.
So John wins the belt here, and
John
then
won the belt to a very, very dead reaction because he was a heel. But I didn't like that, so I asked for a mic. This is what I asked for a mic. Not one of my favourite promos, but the idea was to let people know and to cheer John a bit. Come on, because I was over on the build up to this, and I saw a sign by Keaton that said if John wins we riot, and I was like, oh, this isn't gonna go well. So
then cool championship. 412 Film says.
great championship, yep.
So now
Really cool
this is
championship
the next match we're moving on to, and this
against
who's
Rocky
this guy?
Star.
Rocky Star, yeah.
He's a bit of a veteran. He's been doing this almost as long as I've been alive, and he's
now
shared
Ricky,
the ring with.
you got. I noticed now you got white trunks. Do you have several
Yeah.
different outfits you wear, or are you kind of sticking to one, or?
I have about 3, and I currently have run out of them because the trunks, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. There's some weird people on the internet, is what I've learned. So I had to kind of move on from that.
Yeah.
Then I
Yeah,
went
weirdos out
on.
there.
Then before this, I had the blue ones, but again, didn't help because people on the internet, when it split right through the crotch,
Did it really?
and and all the writing on it peeled off.
Oh no.
Yeah, and then
Well, when you're doing
right
the
now,
moves like you're doing, yeah, you got to find some trunks that hold together, huh?
they hold well, those trunks, but it's hard to do. But the current gear I'm using is my original wrestling gear, so that worked.
So here's a question from 412, and he followed up with this, but I'm gonna fix it while I read it to you. So I
Okay.
got to ask, what was your best match that you had from the time that you started? What's been the best match? Is what he asked.
It's so hard to think because I've had so much fun matches, because I kind of base my matches off the crowd reaction and how much fun I have. Like, I love this match. This is another really fun
Well, let's
match I
forget
had.
the crowd. Like in your mind, what was your best match that you had?
If I was to give probably one of me and John's, there's 2. It's me and John's, one of me and John's, like, probably our 3rd or 4th match, and it was in this very arena that you're seeing in Portaferry. In our first show there, it was literally, we were just like 4th in the card, and it's just solid wrestling, just nothing crazy. And then if it was to choose another one, it would probably be me and John in the match you just watched. I had a lot of fun there.
Yeah. Well, it goes
Really
back to that
fun.
having ring chemistry, and you have it with John, so obviously you're
Yeah.
gonna go there. That does make sense.
Also, another match that could actually be in there is a guy I wrestled probably close to, maybe almost a year ago. He's called Nelson O'Navigador from France. First time wrestling like a big international talent. No, second. And he was great. He was unreal. Really cool guy. Has so much talent. He's not very very underrated because he has a great character and all,
You know,
honestly.
the thing is though, Ricky, as you venture off into other companies and stuff, you're going to come across wrestlers that may be inferior to you or may not be selling for you, and they're only worried about, you know, one of the things we have in the indie circuit is you get what they call spot monkeys, guys that only care about their spot, right? They
Yep.
really don't give a crap about the match. And
They don't.
so
No.
you get in the ring with somebody like that. Then a lot of guys will get in the ring with some other guys and said, all right, fine, you're not selling for me, I'm not going to sell for you. And you get this crappy match, right? My motto is simple. When I'm in a match, I don't care who it is, I'm selling all the time. And if I'm in a match with somebody who isn't as good,
100%.
I'm going to have to sell extra hard to make the match good.
That's the whole thing. You know,
Yeah.
people don't realize wrestling isn't about the moves; it's about how you sell moves. Because my job when I go out there is to make you look good, and your job is to make me look good. That's the whole thing. We're meant to make each other look amazing.
Right. It's
Which
the
is why,
match. It's all about the match.
yeah, a lot of people put themselves before the show, and it's the most frustrating thing. But honestly, if you really look at what part you're on the card and just work a good match of selling each other, the crowd will care way more. Because you look at me and John's match, what did we do that was so crazy? You know, we didn't do anything. You know, the biggest thing was me doing a planche the outside, but apart from that, we just did wrestling, and that's all you need,
Yeah.
realistically.
You know, and if you got a heel that knows how to work the crowd, and you know that it makes the match can be great. But if you get into the ring with somebody who's not selling, and then you decide I'm not going to sell either,
It just
people are gonna,
becomes nothing.
yeah, the match is nothing, and people forget it, and
And
you
you know,
don't want to have that kind of match. You know?
no, and not something that I've obviously encountered is, you know, when you've been wrestling, you know, I've not been wrestling like crazy long, but when you've wrestled the length that I've been wrestling anyway, you really do find people who don't want to do it. They won't sell for you. They won't do it. But the idea, you can't start throwing a hissy fit. You can't, you know, go out there and start, you know, oh, he's doing this and complaining to the other guys. You can't do anything apart from go out there and be the better man and put on a better match. Because
Exactly.
best way to think about it is a fun story about Bret Hart. Something I always was found so cool. I forget the guy's name, such a show shit, but Vince was looking for his next Hogan when Hogan left for WCW. This guy he got he didn't know anything about him, but he had a great look. They had their match. It was Bret and this guy on his first night, and Vince said it was so good. He thought he had his next Hogan. Put the guy on another night on the tour with a different guy, and he said it was one of his worst matches he's ever seen.
Yeah.
Because Bret made that guy look so good. So
Yeah.
from then on, that's what made him realize, you know, Bret's my guy. So you have to think about that. You know, selling really gets you somewhere.
Yeah, it does. And I always want to get caught up on our questions, so we go too far away. Sports Talk 117 says, do you help train younger wrestlers in your company? And we did talk about that a little bit. You do?
Yeah, I do indeed. I help train the likes of, if you're watching, you know, about a week or two ago, Keaton, who was on here. You know, I help train a couple of my younger family members and my brother and my nephew, and, you know, a bunch of kids come around to our class, and I help train. But I also try my best to help, and, you know, John and Didi Crooks, we all do this. When we get a new guy who joins us in the adult class, we do our best to make them feel welcome and also kind of teach them and take them under our wing.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we kind of have a mentor thing going on where we were all giving our protege, because we had a big new intake, and I was given a guy called Ben, who's such a great guy, great talent, a lot of potential, and I was given him, so I kind of helped him as well. So yeah, we are kind of, you know, trusted to help with younger talents, and that's kind of what I love in wrestling. I actually like coaching, similarly to just being in the ring.
You know what I was
really
telling
fun.
Keaton, and we talked about this the other day, you and I. What the guys got to do in that training, those young kids, they got to start getting chemistry themselves with each other. They got to start
Yeah.
getting to know each other, and because once you get to know the guys you're training with, and you have matches
Yeah.
with them, and you get that chemistry starts with liking each other, personality wise. You know this.
If you're friends, you're going to be good in the ring together almost
Yeah.
90% of the time. That's just the way it is.
It's how it
And
is, and that's why your and John's matches are so good.
that's why it works, yeah, because we
Yeah.
get on well. And, you know, I say all of my best matches I've got on with the person. Like Rocky, me and him get on really good. We always knew of each other, but I think we got a lot closer through this match, just talking,
Mm-hmm.
because Rocky shared a ring with the likes of Kevin Nash. So it was great to hear stories of Kevin Nash and how he was and people like that, and Drew
Sure.
McIntyre, who he's also been on the same show as.
Yeah.
So
Those are
again,
some big
yeah, you're
names.
right. Yeah, so it's all about making those relationships and getting to know the people you're in with. Because I do see that from some of the kids in the training we do. Like,
Yeah.
there's this kid Ruben who's literally he was so quiet when he first started, but he really came out of his shell, and he's one of the loudest kids there. And he talks a lot to my nephew, funny enough, and we've always said them two are just so good together in the ring. It's so
Yeah.
amazing because they're
That's
similar sizes. They're both really passionate, and they're both like so agile and fearless that they'll just do anything,
right.
and they'll
That's
have some
the
really great matches.
fearless goes a long ways. I mean, we had guys on our show that were fearless, and they
Yeah.
went on to become professional soccer players. So that's pretty fearless.
Yeah,
Here's a
100%.
question from Luis Calgero asks, is this wrestling inspired by, I think he meant TNA, WWE, or does Ireland have its own version of it?
So I don't. You could be right, but I interpreted that as North American
Oh, maybe it is North
NA.
America. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think he
okay,
meant
that's
North.
what he's saying. Yeah, North America,
Yeah.
WWE. You're right. Yep.
So what I've we're actually, so there's a lot of people, so I like to think some of my matches are very North American, WWE style, odds selling, but I find I learn the most in my way of looking at the British style, which is a lot of Irish wrestling. You know, it's not as prominent anymore because of the American wrestling becoming so famous, but British wrestling is what I like to look at, you know, and that's where I come up with some of the spots that were at the start of this match and some of the spots that were in me and John's match.
There's your finisher right there.
Yep, there it is again.
And this time you get the 3 count with it.
This time I actually win, yeah. No, 100%.
Very
But
good
yeah,
match, though.
I had a lot of fun in this match.
Now we're
Oh,
on to
but
our
here's
next match. This is
the
for the
championship.
championship. That
My second championship match ever.
Yep. And this is what's his name again?
DD Crooks.
Is it DD Crooks?
Yep, looking so different to that first video.
Yeah, because like in that very first video, he was in there, had blonde hair and totally different look now, huh?
Yeah, 100%. Oh, this was great.
And then we got Keaton's commentating going on.
Keaton's commentary.
I love his commentating. I do.
Without Keaton, like the boys backstage, we all say they'll all say, "Is Keaton out there?" And then if we say yep, then it's a good because they will have good footage of our match. If it's not, then we're like, damn it, where are we getting our footage?
Yeah.
So yeah, we're very grateful to have Keaton at our shows.
And you know he does. All of our viewers picked up on how well versed he was, and you know, our regulars that watch, you know, when he was on with us. And I had told Keaton too before that show. Even I said, Keaton, you know, you're pretty good at the commentating.
He is.
You know, if it was in the NWF days, Ricky, I would always take guys like Keaton. I say, Keaton, you can still wrestle, but I need you to be commentating for the matches as well. So when you're not wrestling, I need you on the mic.
And it's funny because our place at the minute, we've started trying to look for commentators of our own.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think we should have a look at Keaton, to be honest. He would be great to have on board.
Yeah, he's good at it. I know he likes Jim Ross, and you can hear it in him. His style's a lot like Jim Ross.
Yeah, the very energetic, fast-paced commentary. Jim Ross coming out of him.
So how is it then working with this guy, DD Cook? Is it DD? Am I saying this right? DD Cook?
DD Crooks, yeah, you got it right,
Crooks.
yeah.
Okay.
Crooks, like a crooked.
Crooks, okay, like a crook. Okay.
Yeah.
He plays a really good heel.
One of the best heels, honestly. He's so good. But it's great working him, but one thing that he loves to do, and I hate it, is he loves to slap you across the face. But he doesn't hold back, so you'll just get an open palm right across there.
Yeah, just get a good slap.
And I got it at the start of this match, and at the very start he slapped me, and in my face you can just see I'm so angry. He actually angers you because he hits you so hard.
Yeah. Have you ever had a match with anybody that, not let's the slap aside, but you know what it's like when somebody's stiff, right? When I say you're working stiff.
Yeah.
So have you had any matches? Is anybody stiff with you?
Yeah, it's common. I haven't had it in a while, but there's definitely people. Obviously, I'm not going to say names. I'm not that kind of person, but
Right.
there's definitely people I've worked where they've been stiff. But
Now,
and you know,
are
you're
they
so tense.
normally stiff with everybody, or is it just they were stiff with you that night?
It seems like the people who I've encountered who are stiff were in a bad mood before the show.
Yeah, yeah.
Or they're just lack of experience and they're accidentally stiff, probably just trying to step up, which is
Yeah.
understandable. I don't get angry at that, but it frustrates me when you're in a bad mood and you take it out in the person you're in the ring with.
Right.
But again, the best thing to do in that situation is just not retaliate, because if you retaliate, then you have a fight, and that's not what you want.
Right. And we had some guys in our show that were just always stiff. You know, they were stiff. You know, they just
Yeah,
were.
you
They
get
throw a
guys like
punch
that.
and you're gonna feel it a little bit. You know.
You're going to actually get punched, yeah.
Yeah. It was just their style, so everybody knew that. So when you went
Everyone
into a match
expected that,
with
yeah.
this guy, I'm thinking of, you knew what to expect. You knew what was going to be coming.
Yeah.
I don't think they intended to hurt you. They just wanted to. It was just their style, you know.
It's just the way, unless they're taught otherwise, it's not going to change. So,
Yeah.
in the ring, we'll have Sage Valentine. I was talking about mentors and proteges. He's actually Dylan's protege, and he took that belt like a champ. And he said afterwards that he didn't get hit, but you look at the video, he gets hit. Like,
Yeah, and the way they make belts
hit.
now in 4mm zinc, it's gonna hurt if you get hit with that.
Oh, it
thing.
hurts so much.
Yeah.
Before my last match, you know, I get adrenaline because of the crowd, and I like smacked the belt on my head, and it hurts so much, and I was
Yeah.
just not able to react to it because, you know, you lose your like aura if you hit yourself and go ah.
So this is for the championship. You had a #1 contender against John McCann prior to this,
Yeah.
and this is for the
Beat John
title.
McCann.
This was just recent, right? How long ago was this?
It was May 4th,
Okay, not too long ago.
Star
about a
Wars
month.
Day.
Yeah,
Yep.
may the 4th be with you. Yep.
Yeah.
619. So
And the crowd going
Crooks is getting
silent
serious.
there.
He's dropped the singlet.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. I know that's why he got the singlet, just because he likes to drop it.
It's like an old Jerry Lawler thing. Jerry King Lawler used to do that when he was mad that
Yeah,
singlet would come down.
drop
He
the
knew
single.
he was in for business.
Yeah. And you know, you have the likes of Kurt Angle and stuff who started to do it and stuff.
Did he
Oh,
do
it
it
just
too?
became iconic.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle used to always do it, and I love
Yeah.
watching the Kurt Angle match.
So yeah, this is and this isn't even the whole match, you guys. I think I came into this halfway through. It's like a
Yeah,
20-minute
yeah.
match.
Oh yeah, it went on. Had a lot of fun though. We're slowly coming to the end though.
Into the turnbuckle. I mean,
I
just
love taking a good.
and this
taking a good
this
buckle.
venue must be fun. Wrestling here.
This is where we train.
Right, I know that's the same place.
Yeah.
And but having that small crowd atmosphere, you know.
It's that like, you know, cult mentality, fan base, cult following, and
Yeah, venues like that are fun.
oh, they're so great, you know, because there's
Now,
such
what
a
is he
small
going?
area.
Is he gonna like? Is he trying to do
He's-
like a pile driver? What the heck's he gonna
Yep.
go for?
Pile driver.
The camera didn't get it, but it looks like you got him pretty good there.
Yeah. And this is where the finishing move
The
comes.
finish is coming. What's that knee pad say? Fight the fight.
Fight the flight.
Fight
Yeah.
the flight. Okay.
That was just
Oh,
something
because
that came.
Canary Kid, bird. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
that was something that came off my head in a promo before my first match, and I just said it and stuck with it. Up and here it is.
Wow, off the top rope, Canary Cutter,
That felt fine. I was surprised.
and he gets the title in
Yeah.
front of the hometown crowd. And that had to be it. So that was your first belt you won, right?
Yeah, and it was so good. Such a
mean,
great moment.
Yeah, like the feeling of getting your first belt. I mean, that's something that you'll remember for the rest of your life, right?
It was just surreal actually holding it in my hands. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. and you have everybody cheering. I mean, there's just no feeling like it. You'd have to be in that
Oh,
ring to really know what we're talking about here.
it's
But
so good. All the confetti going off, which was such a pain to clean up afterwards. But yeah,
I bet it was, yeah.
yeah. And it's not. It doesn't help when people spill drinks and stuff, and it just hate the confetti, but I love it at the same time. I was so not used to holding a title. I didn't know how to hold it. It was so weird. I think I've got more used to it now, but yeah, it's so weird holding a championship for the first time.
Yeah, I mean they're made so heavy now,
Yeah, definitely. So
All
heavy.
right, so that was our footage there that we watched, and let's see, we got some more questions, and I have some more as well. Let's see.
Perfect.
Well, a comment here from 412 Film says, I can tell it reminds of my friend Noah when he has been wrestling for other shows and has had some amazing championship matches at the time. I think he's talking about the championship match that we watched before, because
That's
that's some
awesome.
comment was in for a while.
Mm.
Yeah, reminds me. It reminds him.
Yeah, I
He's
just saw
corrected
his
himself.
comment there. Yeah.
Damian Thorne says, have you ever been in a match that got out of control and had to be stopped? We've gotten that question too. So they're always curious with that.
I get the question. Obviously, you want to know about the drama, and that's not the most exciting thing. But no, not really.
Or
Because
have you witnessed one? Or
I've witnessed a match had to be stopped, but it wasn't. Don't know if you would call it getting out of control. I would call it not being good. This match got out of control, but the guys weren't fighting or anything. It was just these two guys who weren't really great, and they kicked a fan in the face by accident because they kept messing up. Like one of the guys caught this other guy for a Hurricane Rana, and his foot just swung around, and because the fans are so close, the foot just came out and just right across this woman's face.
oh,
Like we lost so many fans after that match because of how bad it was, and you just hear someone on the mic going, 1 minute remaining, and we never did time limits, and it just ended on a draw because we needed to end that. But me personally, never been in a match where it's got out of control because, again, I think we're taught well where I come
right,
from to conduct ourselves in a right way. If anything does, like I was saying before, if anyone gets stiff or anything, just kind of
right,
brush it off and just keep going.
right.
But
And
no,
even in all the 4 to 5 years we did NWF, I never had to stop a match either. So
no, that really happens. Very
um,
rarely.
that's pretty rare.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then another question from Sports Video. He wants to know, do your schoolmates know you wrestle, and do they treat you differently? And I was going to ask you this question too. So what's it like going to school? Do they know about it?
Um, yeah, they know about it. My friends, they don't really care. They've been to a few shows. They're for it. Um, they don't really treat me any differently. Obviously there's the odd joke. It's just like bit of bit of a laugh between us. But no, when I first started doing it, there was a lot of like slander from people in my school. Like I did get it, and it was very annoying and stuff. And it used to really annoy me because I was like 14, and this was like frustrating me so much. But you learn that it's just like you just kind of ignore it because if again having fun, and when you
Well,
make a bit of money, it's fun to be able to turn back to people and say, oh, what do you do? Football? How much have you made? And they're always quiet because
what I
you know,
remember when I was a kid doing it, we were on cable TV, so they all seen it, right?
mm,
In those days, they only had cable. There was no satellite.
yeah,
So our show was strongly surrounded with our cable show. So they all seen it. And so other kids at school, if they were fans of wrestling, they thought it was cool. But if they
yeah.
weren't fans of wrestling, they thought you were a dork. Or
That's
they,
that's what you get.
yeah.
Yeah,
And so you
that
still even
happens.
get that today, huh? A little bit of that. At
I
least when you first
it's
started.
I got it when I first started. It doesn't really happen anymore. It's more of if I'm in an argument with someone, they don't know what else to say. They'll be like, "Oh,
Right.
but you do wrestling." They'll make the homophobic jokes and stuff about
Yeah.
wrestling,
Well,
all that stuff.
for us, it was that. Oh, you do that fake wrestling. That's what
Oh
we
yeah, you
always used
get
to
you
get,
get the fake all the time, and I just go,
and
yeah, yeah,
we
love it.
hated that. We hated.
Oh no, it's
Call me a lot of. You can call me anything you want, but don't call me fake because there's nothing fake about what I'm doing in the ring.
there's
It,
nothing fake about the injuries. The people
yeah,
like go to
yeah,
the best thing to say is just go to Owen Hart's family and tell them it's fake. Go to
right.
go to the likes of Chris Benoit's family, tell them it's fake. That man, went off the rails because of wrestling. Owen Hart lost his life trying to entertain. There's so much people who died wrestling.
Right.
So if you're going to talk about wrestling being fake, you say it to them and see how they react. That's the way I think about it.
So, Keaton, I'm curious, like, after towards the end of my mall career in this whole thing, because I stopped wrestling when I was 20, but towards the end, I had a few things I would do in matches
Mm-hmm.
that were my signature way of doing it. There would be a way where I'd get thrown over the top rope, and I would do it in a way where I'd land and I'd make it look like I took my back out on the side of the apron going out of the ring.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
another one where they'd throw me into the turnbuckles, and I'd dive through the second and third turnbuckle, and I'd hit my left shoulder on the ring post and
Yeah.
just go out, right? Make it look like and I even had the promoter, Ray Webby, come up to me. I was like, "Are you okay?" He thought I actually took my shoulder out. I would make these little moments my moments where I knew I could sell it good, and the fans always get they almost expected it. And wrestlers have that. They all have their things like they do. Do you have something like that you try to do in matches?
When it comes to the selling side of things, it's hard to think, to be honest, because I don't think there's been many moves that I'm like, okay, I can sell this better than most moves. I think I sell most moves the same off the top of my head. But I like taking a good pile driver. I think I can take that pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of matches, I of course do the whole bird, always get it reversed
Yep.
because it's just.
I
I
was going
think
to
that's a
ask you
good
on
thing.
that, but you answered it for me.
It's so fun because I've wrestled people who don't speak English, and to explain the bird to someone who speaks Japanese is so funny. Because I'm like, right, I'll do a dance and then I'll do a monkey flip, and they look at you like you have six heads. They're like, a what? And I'm like, a dance, and they're like dance. And I was like, yeah, and they're like, okay, so dance, monkey flip, and I'm like, yeah. They're like, okay. So yeah, I like to do. I think every match ever. I've never had a match where I haven't done the bird, and I think almost every match I've done, they've reversed it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
they say because I was gonna say like this is great. This is like a finisher, but I'm trying to find a match where it actually works.
Nope, never works.
But yeah, you just having kind of like, well, that I guess the bird in a way is your kind of one of your signatures. It's your thing. It's
Yeah,
something that you do, and people almost expect to see it happen in a match,
100%.
right? So, let's see. Now we talked a little bit about it earlier. So when did you start training the younger kids in Nathan's Saturday training sessions?
I want to say I was definitely less than a year training myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the main reason he trusted me and John was because it was easier. Because of course, if you're going to be teaching children, you have to be police safe checked to make sure everything's okay, no criminal record. And because we're me and John, he was, I think, 17. No, he would have been 16, and I was, I think, still 14. I hadn't turned 15 yet, so it was easier for us two to do it with him. Um, so I think we started around close to summer of 2022. I want to say it
Yeah.
was close to around that time. Keaton's been in every class, so you want
And,
to see them,
and does Nathan
just
pretty
look at
much
Keaton's.
watch from abroad and as you guys train and
No, so Nathan kind of takes the direction, and kind of because of course he's you know he's in his 30s. He can still go, but he'd rather not bump around. So
no,
that's where me
I
and John
totally
come
get
in.
it.
That's where me and
When
John
I
come in.
first met Eddie Sharkey, that's how he trained. He trained by sitting in a chair. He had handlers do it all.
That's the same as a
Yeah.
guy, Marty Jones. He's a British wrestler. Good friends with William Regal and stuff. He's a great guy. If you're an up and coming wrestler, look at Marty Jones versus Owen Hart and stuff. They're great matches. And Marty Jones would sit down in his chair with his like walking
Yeah.
stick, and he'll say, "No, do it that way," and he'll do it one way. And he'll go, "No, the other way." He'll do it the other way. No, the other way, because he's not very mobile, so he can't get up and get in and show you.
Right.
And then he'll just grab someone from the crowd and be like someone who else is showing. He'll just grab them and be like, "This," and then you're like, "Oh, okay." So
It's funny with training because when I started, we self-trained ourselves. We didn't
mm,
have an academy like you guys got, so we had to teach ourselves, and it took 2 years of hell trying to figure it out to where we could finally do an event, and we had all these people show up, and that caught the attention of Eddie Sharkey, who wanted to meet us, right? And Eddie then invited me down to his training camp. He said, "You come anytime you want." So I did. And here I am, a 16-year-old kid. I thought I knew it all at the time because I already did our big show. I thought I knew everything, and I walked in there, and was never so humbled as I was then at that moment, because then you find out what you don't know.
Yeah,
And like
you
I was
haven't.
sitting, Eddie had me sit right next to him, and they're doing the same thing over and over and over. And finally, I go, "Eddie, are they going to do anything other than this hip lock takedown?" Because that's all they were doing. He's like, "Nope, not
Yeah.
today. That's all they're doing." He goes, he goes, "Kid, it's all about repetition. You got to do this so many times so you never forget it."
Hmm.
So that's when
That's
I
the best way
learned.
to do it.
So it was such an eye opener, and so I'm so it makes me envious, but at the same time, I'm so glad that you have got a proper place where you can train and learn
Oh,
it
I'm
right.
so lucky for that. So lucky for the
Yeah, I
likes of.
mean, because you know what the alternative would be if you didn't have this? Then they would be doing the crazy backyard stuff, and
Yeah.
and I call it crazy because it got crazy in the '90s. And we
Yeah,
even
got
we get labeled that to this day sometimes because of the way we
well,
started.
backyarders. Yeah, you get
Yeah, because of
awesome.
that '90s backyard stuff, it even tarnishes not only your guys' reputation sometimes,
Yeah,
it tarnishes ours too.
and it just got associated with all of independent wrestling. To be honest, it happened because
Yeah,
backyard wrestling, in my opinion, is respect the all backyarders. Terrible. I can't watch it, but
yeah. Especially
unless it's
when
done
it's
right,
when they're doing things. Well, the backyard stuff I don't like is the stuff where it's all about sensationalism. It's all about how much
weapons,
pain can I endure to you, and how much can you give to me,
how much
and
blood and how much
yeah,
hard
the
bumps can we
hardcore
take.
element.
And
And
guys like that won't have a career past 12 years,
right, and
15 years.
what they're losing, and you know this, they're losing the art of professional wrestling. They're losing
And
the whole basis of it. You
there's
know,
that's what's happened. There was what I think is one of the worst and best things to happen to wrestling is places like ECW. ECW was so cool because it was its own thing, and that's why it was so amazing to wrestling, and it led to the Attitude Era and stuff. But it was so bad in a way because it made other places try and be like it,
right?
and which led to everyone thinking to be a good wrestler, you just throw yourself on thumbtacks or jump through fire
Or
or
have a
do it.
fluorescent tube smashed over your head.
Yeah, and then now you look at wrestling and it seems like it's just getting crazier and crazier and crazier. Now you're seeing skewers going into someone's head. Now you're seeing,
Yeah,
you know, you've got people who go around with like pizza cutters on heads. It's just dumb. It's just not wrestling. That's I respect them doing their own thing, but you can't label that as a wrestling match. It's just an episode of Jackass in a ring.
yeah.
That's uh,
It is, and like, and when we started out with our NWF, Ricky, it was we were self trained, so we kind of resemble. Sometimes it looks like we resemble that crap, but it's not. The difference with us though, and with what they're doing, is we respected the business. That's
yeah.
why Eddie Sharkey's not going to align himself with backyard wrestling.
That's what I was gonna say. Sharky wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, he
He
wouldn't have
wouldn't have.
done that. It was they knew, even Vern Gagne, who I sent my tapes to back
Hmm.
when I was when I thought was good, but I look at it now
Yeah.
and it's like, man, we got a long ways to go. But when I sent it to him, even he didn't condone us from, he kind of admired, I think, what we were doing. So, and Vern is
Mhm.
as old school as it gets. I mean, he's not gonna.
Vern is a wrestler's wrestler. Like he grew up, of course, with the likes of him, Lou Tez, Stu
Yeah,
Hart.
yeah,
Those guys would not have even went near anything backyard.
no,
So, to have Vern even spend some time actually looking at your guys' stuff and admiring it shows you weren't backyarders. You were just guys who were passionate for wrestling and have respect for the business and were doing anything you could to be wrestlers.
yeah. And so my point with all that though is how backyard wrestling is kind of damaged. It's really damaged any kind of self training. But self training, you can't. It's wrestling's too complicated today. The self training days are over.
Yeah,
Even if it could be happen, I think you need to go to an academy or a training camp like you're doing, because the
yeah.
moves are too complex. It's too sophisticated these days.
Oh,
Wouldn't you agree with
100%.
that?
Their wrestling is so much more difficult than it should be in a way because I think when you have the likes of And I love these guys. You have the AJ Styles, the Jerichos, the Eddie Guerreros, the Rey Mysterios, the Jeff Hardys all coming in, and they're all doing this really high spot, crazy, fast paced stuff. And because of that, again, as I said about ECW, people try and replicate it. It's going to happen. They're going to, that worked for him, so it'll work for me. And
Right.
then now everyone just keeps thinking, the faster and the more flips you do, and it just becomes kind of gymnastics show sometimes. So,
Yeah.
again, the only way you could self train in modern wrestling is if you're, good on a trampoline.
Yeah.
So I think about it.
So Ricky, you mentioned your brothers in training, is that right?
Yeah, my brother and my nephew,
And your nephew. So is this your older brother or younger brother?
younger brother.
And how old is he?
He is 7,
So he is young training.
really young, and then my nephew's 8. Yeah, they're both really young.
And they're young. But you know what though? Like that's how they are over there in the UK. They start out at 7 and 8. And they're
Yeah,
having matches right away, fairly quick after about 6 months of training. And then they start having matches. And I watch their matches, and they're pretty good for what they're doing. But
yeah.
just think if these kids start training at this age, Ricky, just think where they'll be when they get to be your age.
They'll be 20 years veterans at the age of like 25, which is,
Yeah.
and that's what I think the likes of WWE look for nowadays. There's a lot of young guys. You look at their roster, so many people in their 20s who are getting such big opportunities because they need to look at the future. And if they're going to get kids who have 20 years experience or 25 years experience who are in their late 20s, early 30s, they are going to love that because
And
they're veterans with so much more time.
and more indie clubs now, even here in the United States, are starting to have juniors training, they call it.
Yeah.
And they're doing that even here now. I've got about, I don't know, 3 or 4 organizations I've now gotten in touch with that I'm going to be bringing them on future shows. And
Hmm.
like next in 2 weeks here when we do Forward again, I got this. He goes by Bodie. He's
Okay.
just turned 17, and he's amazingly good. And he
That's
started
cool.
training as well, earlier on. He's been in it for a while. Like they start training kids very young over there. That's Future Stars of Wrestling in Las Vegas.
That's cool.
Amazing. It's just amazing. I love seeing these young kids or teens getting involved at an early age. I can't tell you how
It's
much I like seeing
it's the
that.
future. It's exciting to see for me as well because I never really thought any other people were doing it at my age, but it's when you actually get into business you really start seeing it all. Like you see so many young talent that you didn't expect to see, and it's exciting because I know if I don't make it, definitely one of the 100 other 13 to 16, 17 year olds are going to
Right.
make it, and it's going to be cool to see. That really is just
But
seeing these
remember
experienced
this,
guys.
Ricky, though. If you don't make it, that's because of you. The
Oh
only
yeah.
person that gets in your way is you. If
Mm.
you stay focused and you stay devoted and you have your goals, like your long-term goal should be a goal that right now you can't reach. Otherwise, it's not a long-term goal, right? That's how that
Yeah,
is. So you got to have your goals unreachable right now, and if you keep plugging for it and you keep driving forward and just stay focused, you'll get there. You're the
that's the
only one
plan.
that's going to make or break you
Yeah, that's always it.
ultimately.
That's always the way.
So listen, we got some questions.
Awesome.
Let's see here. Okay. Luis Calogero says, "Who's your favorite wrestler inspiration of all time? Who's your
Ooh.
guys?"
Well, my favorite wrestler of all time always varies, but there's two that I've kind of stuck with for a while, and that's Eddie Guerrero and Shawn Michaels,
Okay.
because I think they kind of revolutionized a bit of wrestling. Michaels is one of the best heels they ever stepped in the ring, and so was Eddie. And the
Yeah.
fact they were able to do it as a face as well, just perfect. And an inspiration for me, funny enough, Sean Waltman. He
Yeah.
could probably be one. He could probably be the biggest one. You have Sean Waltman in there, and you could probably put Scotty Too Hotty in there because
Mm-hmm.
of his whole antics. That's where I got the idea of the bird from.
Yeah.
So, but main one's probably Sean Waltman to be honest, inspiration wise.
Yeah. For me, it's funny because I've had most of the viewers know who mine is, but what my inspiration that got me interested in wrestling, I'm nothing like him, but was Hulk Hogan
Yeah.
before Hogan went to the WWF. So this real early Hogan, the AWA Hogan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. When he was
That's
just
awesome.
genuine and just pure and just like nothing we've ever seen before. It was just like this big superhero.
Hogan was very under. A lot of people call him overrated, but I don't think he was rated enough for what he did
Well,
for wrestling.
he got really big, and then I'd say, there's the later Hogan I'm not as much of a fan of, but that early Hogan was my big inspiration. And then
But
a
I
little bit
think
of Ric Flair. I've always had a little Ric
that's
Flair that
it's
I've always.
funny you mentioned Ric Flair. I was about to bring that up because I think Hogan and Ric Flair are very similar because they knew all it took to get them their pop or the crowd to love them was for obviously Hogan to do his holo and the
Yeah,
pump and then do his slam, leg drop, the Hulk up, and Ric Flair just need to strut, woo, and chop someone, and the crowd would come up. So they were so smart when it came to what to do in the ring because
right.
they knew they didn't have to waste time doing crazy bumps. They didn't have to waste time doing crazy stuff. They just went out there and were just such great characters and just decent in ring. Ric Flair is so good in ring, very very good.
Yeah, I
So
mean, Flair was what I was inspired with wrestling wise. Hogan, I was inspired with for his
mm,
charismatic attitude. You
so
know,
charismatic.
he really was. Let's see. Here's another comment here from Gizmo. It says, Ricky, you are like a young crusher. Thank you for coming on the show today. You are not only a very entertaining wrestler, but you are also a very well-spoken young man with a bright future ahead. That's what Gizmo
Thank
says.
thank you very much, Gizmo. Very honored to be compared to Crusher. I'll take that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
thank you very much.
no, but let me tell you something, you guys, and I think I mentioned it in the promo. Where he's at 16 and where I was at 16 is he's so miles ahead of me at that and that all comes down to being properly trained right out of the gate. That goes so far. And so, I probably wasn't on the same page as you were until I got to maybe when I was 19 and 20 when I was in the PWA. That's when I felt I could I would feel comfortable having a match with you, looking at your style, you know.
Well,
So
thank you very much.
yeah, I mean, you guys, you young kids these days, you're so talented. I mean, you're just the way wrestling's evolved and the maneuvers
Yeah,
and just those. I mean, you call them training sequences, and I'm sure they are, but they've those very complex counters in a match, or you're back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I mean, that's impressive stuff, and not everybody, even in like, back in the day, in the old school day, there were guys that couldn't bump. That's what we call it. They just couldn't
yeah.
take a bump, but they could sell because their character was over, but they could not bump in the ring.
Okay.
Today, you don't have that so much. Everybody can bump. So it's like
Everyone.
everybody's on the same playing field. And that just goes to show the skill level that you guys are all at now.
I think again, as we said, it's just the evolution of wrestling that a lot of people think bumping is the most important thing. So that's just resulted in so many people being able to apply bump so well because it's drilled into them from day one.
Right. I mean, unless you're like a Jesse the Body Ventura and could talk,
Yeah.
um, you're over. But if you couldn't bump and you couldn't talk, you're not in the business,
Mm,
so it's like,
yeah.
what do we see? We got another comment here from Damien. He says, Crusher, I think you found your replacement for Dixie Dave on this show. Ricky, you could have your own podcast and many people would watch. Love the show.
Oh, well,
Yeah, that's a
don't want any
compliment for you.
issues with Dixie Dave. Like, so, I'll just let him keep doing his thing and I'll do my thing. So,
Oh, Dixie Dave.
but thank you.
Dave knows that he's my right hand man when it comes to Rewind.
Always gonna be.
But yeah, no, it's they're right though. You're very well spoken and you've answered the questions really well. And we've had lots of great questions from everybody. I'm glad everybody tuned in. I know we're a
Yeah,
little earlier than we usually are, but
seems like we got a good show in.
I didn't want to have Canary Kid have to get up at 2 a.m. to do our regular time. So, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, here's Jeff Dinsmore in the house too. Hey Jeff, great to see you. He's one of our NWF alumni. He was
Oh, awesome.
this guy was a great announcer and he was a great wrestler in a mask, Dr. Dread.
Dr.
He's
Dread.
like a mad dog Vachon in a mask. That's what his character was like.
That's awesome.
Um, let's see. Before we leave though, I do want to mention, I don't want to forget, when we come back to you next week for NWF Rewind, as you know, on our NWF Rewind shows now, we're starting off with the new renovated footage. So I'll put a graphic up here. This is going to be our first show. Guys, I don't like watching this early stuff. I'm not going to lie. But Studio Taping 23 from Group W, I know you guys like it. You love seeing the evolution. We're gonna do it, but I have to do every one that we do. So we're gonna start with this one. But we're gonna watch this one. Now, it won't be in 1080p because I can't bring in a big file like that for an hour long. So I'm gonna have to bring the resolution down a little bit, but it will be nice and cleaned up. So you'll kind of get a taste of what this is gonna be like if you subscribe to our video network, and that's gonna be next week. And Dave will be back, Dixie Dave, and with me, and that's how this is going to go, you guys. We're going to do rewind, then we're going to do forward. So it's going to go rewind, forward, rewind, forward. We're just going to alternate every week. So, but yeah, that's going to be next week for NWF Rewind. And then in 2 weeks, like I said, I'm going to be talking to future stars of wrestling out of Las Vegas and on the next Forward show. So Ricky, anything else? Did we cover everything? I'm thinking this most of the things, because I had lots of questions I wanted to ask you, but they all asked it for me.
Yeah,
Everybody
the people
watching.
spoke. Yeah, did a great job.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was lots of fun, and
Yeah,
so I just, like I said, I always like to give it a tip, and my only tip there's not a lot I can tell you that you don't already know. But I think I'm going to double down on what I told you earlier. Just, I know we talked a little bit about it the other day. You're not the biggest guy. You're a little, 135 pounds maybe, right?
yeah, around that. Yeah,
That's what I was at 18. And you're going to hear a lot of flack from other people. You're going to hear people are going to say, you're too small. You shouldn't be doing this, that, and the other. You got to... You got to just let that go in one ear and out the other and just keep moving forward. Look at CM Punk. He's not a big guy. And look at how over he was, right?
Definitely.
So size does not matter these days. So it doesn't matter if you're a big Hulk. You don't have to be a big, giant Hulk Hogan type guy. You can be any size in this business. What it matters is your attitude.
That's it.
Your
exactly it.
What's the most important thing? Selling. And if you sell for your opponent every time, no matter what, like I give you an example. When I went in the ring with Kelsey's not going to want to hear it, but he's going to hear it. Kid Kelsey, great character. He was over on our show, but he could not bump. So that means I have to work twice as hard in the match to make it look good. And you're going to have these kind of matches. You guys can all bump, but you're going to have people that just don't bump as good, and you're going to have to make up for it.
Yeah.
And
100%.
as long as you elevate the match up and you make sure everybody remembers that was a good match. Because once you start selling for your opponent, like I was telling Keaton, boy, that news travels fast. Everybody gets the word, and everybody wants a match with you. Promoters want to have you on the show, right? It just spreads like wildfire, really.
That's honestly it, because again, we're very lucky. Well, I'm very lucky anyway that I get this like social media and stuff that can help us branch out. So of course you guys didn't have that. You just had to send your tapes and kind of hope you were given the opportunity. Meanwhile, we're very lucky to have social media, so I can post stuff and get my name out there in a way.
Yeah, I mean, social media is great because then you can have your own channels and stuff.
Yeah.
Like NIPW they could have their own YouTube channel to show all the matches and stuff. Right now, Keaton's showing a lot of it, but
yeah, Keaton's doing most of the work.
But I mean, it's different. Like today, you got social media. We didn't have social media. Our social media was cable, and that was our internet, kind of. There was no internet in our days, so we didn't. And everybody always says to me, how did you, without being able to text or email, I had to pick up the phone and call everybody and say, hey, are you going to make the show? Can you make it? Good, I got you down. And I call all the kids and see who's going to come, and then figure out the matches, and then some kid doesn't show up, and that happens too. And then all of a sudden, okay, now we got to substitute him and change that. And look, I don't wish what we went through on anyone as far as it was a mess to run sometimes. But as a kid, as kids, we had to run it ourselves. But for you guys, like I said, you don't have to. You can just focus on the wrestling, getting proper training, having Nathan do all that stuff and run the league. So that you don't have to try to do all of this. It's the way to go these days. And look, what we just watched today, you guys, all that footage you watched, this is the end result. So, what's this? Jeff Dinsmore, he says, hey, Ricky, Crusher is a great guy to hang on with.
I've realized that. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff Dinsmore. He was my tag team partner as Dr. Dread too, so I know
There
him.
you
I
go.
know Jeff all too well. But that's the thing I was gonna say. I have all these old NWF alumni coming in here and tagging me. The relationships you're making today, Ricky, you're gonna have maybe the same thing happening with you as years go by. You're gonna remember these guys. You're gonna remember John McCann. You're gonna
Yeah,
remember, uh,
definitely.
and as you get older in 10, 20 years, you could still be doing this. And I'll tell you this much, you'll never forget those early matches and those early
Nope.
relationships that you've had.
No, 100%. It's like
And
that
make sure,
wrestling buzz.
and Ricky, make sure you save every bit of footage. Don't get rid of anything.
I'll try.
Because for us, it was on VHS tapes and they were expensive. So I would record over a lot of things just because I didn't have a choice. You don't know how much I regret that today. So for you, it's easy. It's digital. You have the ability to save it. So save every bit of it. You'll want to
I'll
look
try
back
my
at this.
best.
As you get older, you're definitely going to want to look back at your early stuff.
That's
So.
kind of, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so everybody, I hope you enjoyed the show. Like I said, next week Dave and I will be back with that show 23 watch along, and then I'll be back in a couple weeks again with another Forward show. So I hope you guys enjoyed this new one, this new show Forward. It's like I said, it's our look at the future, as I like to say. And Ricky Henry, certainly the future of NIPW for sure, as who knows how far you'll go in this business. Sky's the limit, right?
Yep, that's the idea.
All right. And Ricky, I'll be seeing you again, actually, because you and John, I think, are coming on Keaton's show in a couple weeks.
Yes, we are.
Yep. So I'll see you again on a Sunday here, and I think 2 weeks from Sunday we'll be on again with you. So,
yeah, I think it's 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yep. And like I told Keaton, though, that's kayfabe with Keaton. I'm the Dixie Dave on that show, so Keaton's kind of in the driver's seat there.
Keaton's the main man.
Yep. He's the main one there. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. And I hope, like I said, hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll be back in another week here for Rewind. So we'll see you in another week, folks. And thanks again, Ricky, for coming on.
Thank you. It's great to be on.